So this takes place around 1:18 Denver time, 12:18 for West Coast, 2018 Universal. And you can see in the waterfall, this recording missed it, but RAF Air 7120 radios the HFGCS and asks for a SELCAL check. If you don't know what a SELCAL check, the simplest way of explaining it is it's a digital signal that corresponds to 4 letters, and it's used by aircraft to identify themselves. So after asking for a SELCAL check, here's what you hear West Coast radio back to say.
Last caller, this is West Coast. I'm copying a cell phone check for Kilo Sierra Juliet Papa. How copy, over?
So obviously West Coast either misheard or, more likely, as you'll be able to tell from later in the conversation, can't tell what a SELCAL is, so it's asking for a cell phone check. And as Raf mentioned, its SELCAL code is KSJP, Kilo Sierra Juliet Papa, and West Coast is going to try and proceed with whatever its understanding of that is.
West Coast, this is Rafa 7120, A-firm requesting SELCAL check, Kilo Sierra Juliet Papa, over.
So the conversation's about to get very ridiculous, and RAF Air 7120 bears a decent amount of responsibility because it said A-firm for a SELCAL check when West Coast just asked if it was asking for a cell phone check. So they're not on the same page at all.
7120, this is West Coast. Please stand by. What time is landing, over?
So normally for a SELCAL check, the time a plane is going to land is completely irrelevant, and I don't know why RAF Air wouldn't recognize this as something has gone awry, but it goes ahead and obliges and answers.
West Coast, this is Rafa 7120. Landing time 2305 Zulu. Over.
Seven one two zero. This is West Coast. Copy. I'm going to get a weather check for Kilo Sierra Juliet Papa at landing time 2305 Zulu. Please stand by. Over.
So one of the services that HFGCS operators do provide is weather checks. If you radio in and provide the 4-letter code of an airport and the time you're going to land, they will look it up for you usually and get back to you with the expected weather for your landing time. And that's just to help with the actual procedure of landing. So at this point, West Coast has heard a 4-letter code, heard something for a cell phone check, and I guess is just trying to reconcile and figure, oh, they must be asking for weather. And that's why they asked for the landing time. And I have no idea why RAF Air didn't say, no, I'm not asking for weather, when West Coast said, I'm going to go look up the weather for you. But the conversation continues to get increasingly silly.
7120, this is West Coast. How copy, over?
So this is now several minutes later, which for a straightforward SELCAL check, RAF Air should have realized that something is not right here again. And the reason it took so long is because if you look up Kilo Sierra Juliet Papa, that's not an airport code.
West Coast, this is Rafa 7120. Have you Lima Charlie, over.
7120, this is West Coast. My weather guy over here is not finding anything for Kilo Sierra Juliet Papa. Are you able to give me a general location for landing instead? Over.
So again, that's an irrelevant question for a SELCAL. I do not understand why RAF Air is going along with this.
West Coast, this is Rafa 712.
Their signal cuts out, so I'm just going to fast forward this part.
Rapper 7120, Rapper 7120, this is West Coast, West Coast. Your last message cut out. Please say again last. Please say again last, over.
West Coast, West Coast, this is West 7120. General location is Denver, over.
So as you can see in the map in the top right, RAF Air was near Denver at the time they were broadcasting. That is not what West Coast asked for, but they're just giving them their current location. Now at this point, West Coast should realize it doesn't make sense that this plane is going to not land for another 3 hours in Denver. That was the given arrival time when they're already so close. But I don't think West Coast has any idea where RAF Air is.
RAF Air 7120, RAF Air 7120, this is West Coast. I was not able to copy. Please say again last, over.
West Coast, this is RAF Air 7120. Our general location is Denver, over.
RAF Air 7120, RAF Air 7120, could you please spell that phonetically, over.
West Coast, this is RAF Air 7120. General location is Denver. I spell Delta, Echo, November, Victor, Echo, Romeo, over.
RAF Air 7120, this is West Coast. Copy, general location will be Denver, Colorado. How copy, over?
So again, no, this makes no sense. It can't possibly take them that long to land in Denver, Colorado when they're already that close. They're also flying away from Denver.
West Coast, this is RAF Air 7120. Good copy, over.
At this point, they get interrupted by an EAM being broadcast by the usual HFGCS operators. When they come back, West Coast tries to establish contact with RAF Air again several times over 10 or 15 minutes. At one point, even tries to establish contact as Offutt rather than West Coast. And RAF Air, wisely, for whatever reason, decides to stop answering. Possibly they figured out that the HFGCS doesn't do SELCAL checks, or maybe they just figured out that, this just isn't going to work out today.
RAF Air 7120, RAF Air 7120, how copy my station, over? RAF Air 7120, RAF Air 7120, this is West Coast, West Coast, how copy my station, over?